Welcome again to Provisionally Approved, the show where we fit 15 people onto 3 chairs. I'm Mike Gorry, and hashtag Gorry Fact, the Loca Beast and the Gorry have never been seen in the same room. Coincidence? Sitting with us today is Rama Nicholas, and your show, Merryweather's Monsters, as part of the International Comedy Festival, running between now and April the 17th. You play 11 separate characters in that. I suppose firstly, tell us a little bit about the story of the show and sort of like, the pitch.
Yeah, sure. My show's called Merryweather's Monsters. It's a one-woman gothic adventure story. I play 11 characters, as you said, and I switch between them and doing all the dialogue and all the physicality as well. So it unfolds like a play or a movie. And it's of the Gothic genre. It's set in 1890, at the height of the Gothic, romantic Gothic genre. And it does incorporate some of the Gothic literaries of that time. So my story is about a monster hunter called Merryweather, and she's the greatest monster hunter of all time. And the city has just given her a medal and made her Lord Protector of London. And it's really about her journey as a monster hunter. And it's not until she's unexpectedly thrown into the monsters realm that she really finds out who she is and what the world really is. So, yeah.
So you mentioned that. Like you've got sort of like the whole sort of like it plays out like a movie, and Maria and I sort of seeing it last night.
I'm Maria, by the way. Didn't get an introduction, so
yeah,
I'll introduce myself.
That's
I'm Maria.
That's my fault.
Hi, Maria.
But yeah, we saw your show last night, and speaking for myself, I was sitting there thinking, well, this would make a really good movie, just sort of in and of itself, like just take the script and go,
It's fantastic.
It'd be fantastic, because you've got like all the different characters, like you can instantly sort of tell who it is that's talking by your voice and your physicality, like sort of looking down with the tall characters and up with the small ones and. That sort of thing, and I'm curious as to your process, sort of putting all that together.
Right. So, yeah. So basically, I'm an actor. I started off as an actor, and so character acting seemed to be my thing. I would always kind of lean towards that and lean towards the comedic roles as well. So. As much as I wanted to be a serious actor, I was always sort of leaning towards these types of kind of more comical and bigger characters. So I've done years and years of improvisation as well, so that also helps your comedy chops. So my process is basically in impro. It's all about storytelling. So when you train for a long time doing improvisation, well, the way I was trained and the way I perform doing impro is all about how to tell a good story. So I took all of my skills from, my years as being an actor, my years as being an improviser, and just kind of put them all into my solo work. Yeah. So, and I love to play multiple characters. Yeah.
Can I ask, in regards to your show, where's the inspiration from it? Because we went to the show, all of us, yesterday, and it is a fantastic show. And Buffy was noticed in that show. So can we kind of get into what specifically inspired this type of Gothic genre?
So aside from the Gothic literaries of the 1800s, which is really where it's set, I'm a huge fan of Buffy. Yeah, huge fan. And I'm actually a big vampire nerd. Yeah, so I love all the vampire movies. Cool. And when I was a teenager, I read Bram Stoker's Dracula 5 times. So I love the genre. I love the mystique of the genre. I love the feel of the world that it creates. But my other shows are actually, this is a third of a series of genre work that I've done. My first show was a spaghetti western, so it was my ode to westerns, and my second show was grim fairy tales.
It's kind of a theme.
Yeah, so proper grim fairy tales though, not kids fairy tales. This is like adult gruesome stuff. And then my third genre is gothic, the gothic genre.
So you're going to keep these genres going, because there is like a theme of you know, the spaghetti genre than the really grim ones.
Yeah.
Is it going to be like a theme for your future shows?
Possibly. I'm not sure.
Could be an
To
idea.
see what inspires me next.
Fairy tales.
So like producing all this stuff like through the comedy festival, like you say that like all of it sort of comes from sort of a storytelling perspective. Are there any and like honestly like I think, you know, this show in particular, like I was sort of sitting there going like it would also sort of fit something like Fringe Festival really solidly. And I think you said before that you took it to Adelaide Fringe.
Yeah, I did it in Melbourne Fringe. I started the show there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I went to Adelaide Fringe, and now I'm here.
Yeah.
Melbourne Comedy Festival.
Yeah. So like within that, like are there any sort of like unique pressures that sort of like make it? Well, I suppose pressures is the wrong word. But is there any sort of unique sort of challenges, sort of taking that from sort of Fringe to the comedy festival?
Not really. Not really. I mean, I think I kind of ran this show in. You know, we talk about running shows in.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah,
the first
yeah.
season. I ran it in at the Melbourne Fringe, and so I guess the challenge is to know what you've got.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and just to kind of find out what you've got and whether audiences like it. So that's
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
that's the challenge. And if they do, then you take it to other places. And if they don't, then you rewrite. You know.
Can
No,
you see yourself
yeah.
doing this show? Because you've taken it to comedy festivals, but can you see yourself taking it to like theatre clubs like MCC or something, or even doing it as an improvised show? Because it can be both. Like it's comedy and it's theatre.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd take it to theatres. I'd take it to different theatres. MTC program their own stuff though.
Well, that's
so I
just an
don't think-
example. That's an example. It
Yeah.
could still be like a short movie or a theatre, especially
Yeah.
because you wrote
Absolutely.
the screenplay, and I know your writing inspiration is Josh Whedon. So
Yeah.
you know, can we kind of go into like that type of what went into writing it? Like what type of research?
Yeah, so I really enjoy research when I'm writing or creating a show. I think it's probably because of my acting background. When you're an actor, you want to delve deep into the characters that you're going to portray, so it takes a lot of research. So yeah, I did a lot of research around the 18th and 19th century writers of the Gothic period, and I watched a lot of Netflix. I unguiltily watched the whole lot of the Vampire Diaries.
You know, that's research. That's
research, right? And any other vampire, Frankenstein, ghoulish thing I could get my hands on. So, you know, it's all research to me, but it's my Netflix binge. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got like in Merriweather's Monsters, you've got what the count was, I think 11. It was 11 separate characters, right? Yeah. And like. Yeah, like so you've got sort of unique behaviours and sort of and unique voices, both in terms of like the words they'll choose and like the literal sort of voice you use for each one. Like, what's your sort of process in terms of sort of I suppose like past the research stage?
Your voice work.
Yeah,
as a
like,
voice actor, how you train your voice to do these different like accents, because I know it's hard to do them, and you do them really well.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I love an accent. I've always enjoyed playing with accents. I discovered that in terms of training and discipline, I discovered in my first solo show, it actually puts a lot of strain on your voice. So before my first solo show, believe it or not, I would just get out there and do my thing and just kind of trash my voice thinking it was indestructible. And then I really started to feel strain because my first two solo shows are musicals as well as flipping between multiple characters and doing different accents. So I started to lose my voice, so I had to go and retrain and get some exercises and talk to vocologists and voice experts and all that. So it's actually really important now for me to keep my exercises up every day during a season, otherwise I feel that strain. There's a certain amount of discipline that definitely
because
goes
you're
into
working
it.
you're using your voice, like working the muscles. So
Extremely, because it's not only the accents, it's tonal as well. So some voices are very high and some are very low. So it's working every single part of the voice there. So
one thing that I did notice though, that I noticed from people who've seen the show, and I noticed you got some pretty awesome reviews, and you know, you even got a recent review from the Herald Sun. You got like 4 or 5 stars. Everybody loves this show. Like, I think Squirrel Comedy even gave 5 reasons to go see your show. So good reviews really help the show a lot. But I guess 2 questions in one. Do you feel the pressure when you get a good review, or when you get a bad review? Do you feel like you need to kind of really prove that you can do it, or just kind of let it slide?
Yeah, I think you know, reviews are, you have to remember that it's just one person's opinion. Having said that, good reviews, and I think everyone in Comedy Festival, every show in Comedy Festival will vouch for this as well, a good review can really help you sell tickets. So that's why we like them, you know, because it's really good for sales, and it helps put the word out there to perhaps people that wouldn't think to come and see this type of show. So that's what's great about good reviews. As well as, I really enjoy, with my shows, I really enjoy hearing what reviewers write, because it's so genre based. They've got a lot of juicy stuff to work with. So some reviewers get really creative, and it's really like exciting to read what they take from it. And with the reviews that, you know, we would say aren't as great, you just have to, for me, I try to look at it as feedback.
Nice.
Right?
So they come in though.
Sometimes I go, okay, that's one person's point of view, and then I look at it as feedback. It's a certain type of feedback. Is there some way I can improve? What are they saying they didn't get? You know, like, can I improve on my clarity in the work? So I try to look at it as if it's the work, and I try not to take it super personally. Though, you know.
Nice. They do come in though. They do, like, that would put pressure on me if I saw a reviewer sitting at the, you know, at the back of my show. So
yeah, I mean, I try not to. I get my producer not to tell me when they're coming in, because I like to treat every show the same, you know, and yeah, it's sort of important that every show is the same, that people are getting that quality every time.
I like
So
that.
yeah.
I like that you incorporate the audience, and you just asking your reviewer to add to your incorporation. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because there is sort of like that fantastic moment in the middle of the show where you sort of involve the audience in, like, you've got this audience participation bit where the whole thing is in character, and like I suppose I'm sort of wondering, like. It sort of for me sort of came as a little bit of a surprise, because because you had sort of the Puck character, or the Puck figure, I suppose, the narrator, who I say Puck because it sort of was very reminiscent of like a sort of Shakespearean kind of style, but yeah, like you'd sort of been talking to the audience before that point, but and then there's suddenly this awesome, like, sort of audience participation thing where we get to be.
Is it different?
Yeah,
it's different.
Yeah, sort of be part of one of the characters' development.
Comedians do that. Like, I noticed that, you know, a lot of comedians just stand on the stage and do the comedy act, but you actually go in and you incorporate the crowd, and that's an interesting thing that we'd love to know about, like your decisions for that.
Well, for me, it's about variety. And also keeping the connection with the audience, that this is, you know, when you're doing live shows, it's very exciting, and I like to keep my audience connected. I like to, because, you know, my shows are a little bit on rails, I find. Once I start, it's just like, you know, it's just on rails, and it can't stop until I get to those moments where I'm either singing a song or doing this particular audience participation thing. So it just sort of, for me though, that moment kind of wakes everyone up a bit. You know, it's like keeping you on your toes. Yeah. You're a part of this show. You're helping create this show as well.
It does, because we did it yesterday, and it was, I loved it. I love the participation.
Yeah, and it's not scary participation. I never like to make people feel like, oh, you know,
Spotlight, yeah.
or they have to come up on stage with me or anything like that. But it's, just kind of volunteered participation. And it's very mild and friendly, but it's about variety for me. Yeah, that's why I threw a song in as well, like I said, and this show also ebbs and flows. I like my audience to go on a journey, so not just story-wise, but also emotionally. So they're not just getting those big laughs, but they're also going on this sort of emotional journey with the characters as they go along as well. So,
yeah. Like I noticed that you had that, you had a very strong sort of hero's journey thing going on with like twists and turns, and then the characters sort of like. I cared about their development by just a few minutes in, and I'm just sort of impressed that you managed to sort of fit so many layers in, and also like sort of keep it sort of fresh and funny, and I didn't actually have a question on the end of that.
It's impressive, but I actually do have a question that interests me, because I'm looking at the promo image right now, and we actually saw it before on the TV, and promo is really important to kind of give an idea of what the show is going to be. So because I like, the image tells me what your show is going to be, so where did the idea kind of come from? Like, do you think a lot about promo? Is it just like a...
Yeah, you got to think about promo. This poster is a little bit different to my other shows. My other shows have me in different characters, so multiple images of me doing different things.
Because it drew me in.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because this I wanted to just focus on, the whole show is about one particular person's journey, one person's hero's journey. And so this promo for me was about her, and so I wanted her to be up and, front and centre without all the kind of other stuff around her, and just kind of create the atmosphere around her, that kind of gothic atmosphere, the castle and the bats. And
so the whole thing suits it, and that's, I guess, what I like about it, even the writing, the style you chose. And I like. Interesting.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, did you sort of set out to begin with like a particular sort of story structure in mind, or do you find it more sort of happens as part of the process?
I did think about story structure. So I've been working a lot with what is a villain and what is a hero, and the blurry line in between. And superhero comic books have been experimenting and playing with this idea since the dawn of time. But I'd been particularly fascinated with villains and what is a villain. How do you make a villain? How do you create a villain? They're just... to them, they're normal people with an agenda that they believe in. So I wanted to kind of explore the idea of, what if I have a hero that believes she's a hero, without giving too much away. Oh my God, but then her whole world changes when she finds out certain things. So that's where I was coming at it from.
Yeah. I notice like a lot of comedy shows are becoming creative, like your one. Do you feel like, as a comedian, and you've done, the Fringe, and now the comedians need to be more creative with how they're, I guess, doing the comedy, rather than just stand on the stage and make fun of the person eating the ice cream?
Yeah, I actually think that there is a lot of creative people out there already doing amazing stuff, doing really incredible stuff. And I think it's more around, maybe changing a little bit of perception of what comedy is, rather than,
because I perceive comedy as just standing on the stage. So that's what you mean.
So it's sort of more, it's more about like changing audience perception about what it can be. Yeah.
Well, I mean, because there's that whole comedy sort of traditionally sort of just referred to any story with a happy ending. Like the meaning of the word comedy has sort of changed a lot over the centuries. But are you sort of drawing sort of partly from sort of the classic interpretation as well as the modern one? Like, is that a deliberate thing, or?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what you're asking. Sorry.
Well, I suppose because
You mean the way comedy used to be done, and where
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
your inspiration to as a comedian? Is that kind of along the lines of that?
No, no. I suppose like in the context of like you know, for example, like because I would say that Merriweather's Monsters is both. Like it's a comedy in the sense of it's funny, and it's also a comedy in the sense of, you know, you sort of walk away sort of, you know, feeling pretty good, like you know, like things. Well, yeah, I don't want to spoil the plot, but you know, it's not what I'd call a tragedy. And yeah, well, I suppose like I'm. Yeah,
It's
like, I was
it's a
sort of.
long show though.
Pardon?
It's like, now thinking of what you're saying, it's a long show and it's got a lot included in it. You know, you've got the 11 characters, and even though you don't have costumes, you actually use your your movements to, and that reminds me of like the silent film era where they had to use a lot of their body movements to portray what they're doing, and there must be a lot of rehearsals going into that.
Yeah, I do rehearse quite a bit.
Like a lot of,
Yeah.
because I know, I just saw the show and I'm like, wow, like she's got to really put a lot of hard work into that, and with, especially with the people you work with, because I know Adam McKenzie, he directs the show, and Richard Kidd, he helps do the music, and so what's it like working with all these different people? in regards to
Yeah, it's really great. But I just want to, I'm going to hold that for a second. I just want to answer your question from before.
Sure.
So I think the answer is somewhere in between. I think I like to do what I want to do.
Yeah,
You know what I
well-
mean? Like classic or whatever comedy is evolving into. I'm just into characters. I'm into story, and that's kind of like what I love. So that's what it is for me. That's my journey. I think maybe that's answering your question from before a little bit.
Yeah.
I actually don't think too deeply about what's come before. I just want to do what I love to do.
Yeah, fantastic. All right.
And also I think with a comedy festival show, having that ending that you talked about is kind of important. I think maybe depends on the show. You know, it depends on the actors and the comedians, but for this show in particular, I think it was important.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, well, that's all we've got time for, unfortunately. But so this has been provisionally approved. I hope everybody's going to see Rama Nicholas's show, Merriweather's Monsters, at Trades Hall in the Quilt Room from now until April the 17th. And that's as part of the International Comedy Festival. So I've been Mike Gorry.
Hi, I'm Rama Nicholas.
I'm Maria.
And we'll see you next time.